First, some general things. The cleavage speed, it came out as about 112. But ours sort of underestimate the speed a little bit. So it'll be a bit lower than what you normally read from launch monitor. Actually, the speed is pretty good because this is the elite men's average, including professional players, college players, and then some teaching professionals. So you're approaching to that level. If this is normalized to your body height, then you're right at the average here. So actually, it's pretty good. And then the swing time here. So this is the beginning of the backswing, and then this is top of backswing here, and then impact here. So overall swing time from the beginning of backswing to impact, it takes slightly less than 1,000 milliseconds. So it's less than 1 second, which is good. So I don't like slow backswing. Yeah. Slow backswing causes a lot of issues. Now, the only thing is that if you look at the shape of this cleavage speed curve here, it is peaking more or less in the middle of the backswing, or maybe a bit earlier than that. Okay? If you look at the shape here. So what that means is from here to the top of backswing, during the backswing, you have acceleration and deceleration. These are fairly symmetric, so the rate you are accelerating and the way you're decelerating are quite similar here. That's why we see the symmetric curve here. But actually, I want to see the peak happening later.
Later, okay.
So what that means is that toward the end of the backswing, you should maintain fairly good speed there, so that you have to actively slow this down. Okay. Instead of just nicely speed up and then slow down, have almost a symmetric shape here. Initially go slowly, but toward the end of the backswing, you get angry. Build the climax. Then the peak will shift to more this way here, right? Okay. So that's what I want to see. So it is important to actively slow down the backswing and then connect it to the downswing. Mm-hmm. Usually when the cleavage speed peak occurs a bit early here, then typically that means you have a quick rotation at the beginning of the backswing and then slow down. So we'll be able to see that later in the kinematic sequence pattern here. But I want to move this a bit this way here, so that really build the climax toward the end of the backswing, and then wind up and then coming down here. Okay. So that way you can really take advantage of backswing in the downswing. Okay. Good. So that's what I see here, and then this is the top view. Mm-hmm. This large rectangle here, this shows the swing plane. So calculated from the club head motion. Yep. So your swing plane is outward.
Out way too much.
Yeah. Yep. It's on the average about slightly over 6 degrees. Okay. Now, this is a smaller rectangle. Here is the hand motion plane. It's calculated from the hand pad. Okay. The hand motion plane is inward. Yep. By about 4 degrees.
That's what I've been working on.
So overall, you have about 10-degree difference between the direction the club head is moving and your hand is moving. About 10-degree difference. Okay. So your hands are moving inward a lot more than the club head, right? Yeah. So when this happens, it usually means two things. One is you probably have a crossover alignment at the top. I do, yep. And then also on the way down, in order to bring the club head more toward the target, you have to pull the hands in. As a result, you develop a swing pattern called spiral swing. So we'll take a look at that right in the next slide. Now, this is your impact here. At impact, still this arrow is the direction the club head is moving. So your club head is moving slightly outward. Yep. Okay. Now, this is the swing plane here. So everything is aligned along the swing plane. So this straight line here, this is your swing plane. It's calculated from the club head motion from here to here. So it reflects how your club is moving through the impact.
Yeah.
Now, so at the beginning of the backswing, the club head goes above the swing plane here. So it keeps moving along that way. And then the club head makes this large arc, or looping motion here. But at the instant of top of backswing here, the hands are located here. So the hands are deviated from the swing plane about this much.
Yeah.
Your club head is deviated from the swing plane a lot more.
Yeah.
So this deviation, club head deviation, is about twice as large as the hand deviation. When this happens, then this is a crossover alignment.
That's the crossover.
Then on the way down, you have to adjust this.
Yes.
But the only way you can do is pulling the hands inward. So what happens is, at this point, the club stays above the swing plane. Then as the swing goes here, now you have a good planar motion here. And after that, in the follow through, the club head goes below the swing plane here, because your hands are pulling the club. So this is called the spiral swing. So to me, the better one is the so-called planar swing. So at the top, the club head stays above the swing plane. Okay. It comes down to swing plane. They have good planar motion, and it goes above the swing plane here.
Good. Okay.
So you see positive deviation in both sides here. But in your case, it is positive deviation, but in the follow-through, you have negative deviation here. So it looks like the path is a spiral path.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why it's called the spiral swing. And then, so eventually it will catch up. But when you see the spiral swing, it typically means a lot of arm-driven swing. Arm-driven swing, and then also because you have a crossover alignment, you have to pull this in.
You have to do it.
Yeah. So by adjusting the club alignment at the top, by dropping the club head a little bit, you can change the way you do the downswing.
Excellent.
It's as simple as just dropping it a little bit more. So at the top, the club head and hands show similar deviations from the swing plane. Then the downswing motion becomes a lot simpler.
Excellent.
And also,
Efficient.
and yeah, here, as you can see, your hands are going inward, the club head is going outward. But if you keep it more or less parallel to the swing plane, then you can also match the directions of the swing plane and hand motion plane. So they show parallel alignment here.
Okay.
So then, when you throw your hands toward the target, the club head will also move in that direction.
Okay.
And then the starting point is dropping the club head a bit more, so they keep the club parallel to the swing plane.
Okay.
Then downswing becomes a lot simpler.
Excellent.
So that's what we see here. And this is mainly coming from this position here. And the one thing I saw in your video, the video you sent to me, so this is actually aligned toward the target line here. Okay. Then the club goes slightly inward here. In your video, this was a lot more than this, but it seems you changed it a little bit quite recently. So this is because you have a tendency of going a bit flat in the backswing.
Okay.
And then you cannot go any further, then eventually you have to lift this up here. With that, the club head goes this way. You are lifting the elbow here, the club head is going this way. So if you start from the beginning a bit along a bit steeper path here, so you keep going and then you will be here, but you are starting a bit flat here. Later you have to lift this up. That's why the club goes that way. Okay. So what you need to practice is something like this. So imagine you put a stick on the ground.
Okay.
So that's toward the target here. If this is the club here, then initially try to move this along that line here, along the line, and then continue this, and then bring this up slightly. Then you're not going flat here, and then later try to lift this here. So from the beginning, if you start this way here, and then let it go here, using this path here. So when you practice, you feel the plane here, and then in one motion you are going here, then you don't have to detour. You can directly go to that position here. And also, the club head will be better positioned here instead of going this way here. Yeah, in your video, it was a lot more than this, but still you have that tendency here.
I do.
Yeah. So at the beginning, you're starting a bit flatter here. So you can maintain this motion up to this point here, but then because of anatomical limitations, so we have to eventually lift the arms up. So as the right arm, particularly right elbow is lifted here, then nicely you're going into this crossover alignment. So when we just look at this in the down the line view here, you have a lot more crossover alignment here. So although all the way down you're adjusting this, but still along the swing plane we also see this crossover alignment. But if we don't change the direction and it's just going down the line, then you have a lot more crossover alignment here because it's flat and then you're lifting this here. But instead, go a bit steeper here and then let it go this way here. Then you'll be able to drop the cleavage behind your back. Then you have a lot better alignment. So yeah, one thing you have to avoid is going flat at the beginning. Yeah, when you go a bit higher, then you can always shallow this and then bring this down. With this looping motion here. But when you go flat, then you go up here and then try to bring this down. The motion becomes complex. So you cannot wait until the club head drops, so you have to pull your hands inward.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
So make a difference at the beginning of the backswing. So using that kind of practice. So moving this along by moving the body, keeping the arms here, mainly turning the body and then bring the club head here, and then using that one motion, go to this position here.
Got it.
And also with that, you can build climax toward the end.
That should give you more club hit speed.
You already have good club speed. As an amateur player, you have enough club speed. So don't worry about the club speed. So that's what I see here. And then this one, the red line shows the center of mass motion here. So this is the target direction, and this is away direction here. So the red line shows that initially your center of mass is here, but when the club starts moving, your center of mass is here. It's moving away, and then slightly upward here, and then going downward and upward here. But this up and down motion should be a bit more.
More, okay.
Yeah. So you have to actually bring this higher, and then you have to drop the center of mass down more. So this has to go below the initial position.
Okay.
Then you'll be able to push good toward the end. So in order, this is quite fair here. So if you are going to use the ground good in the vertical direction, then you have to move in the vertical direction. Okay? And if you want to use the ground well in the horizontal direction, then you have to move the body in the horizontal direction. Then with the motion, we have acceleration, deceleration, which is actually coming from the ground. So if your body is not moving that much in the vertical direction, so while your arms club are going up here, if your body goes down, they will be canceled out, right? So you don't have that much up and down motion. That means you are not using the ground that way.
Okay.
So you have a horizontal motion, good amount of horizontal motion here, but you don't have much vertical motion. So you are emphasizing the horizontal shift quite a bit, but not quite moving in the vertical direction. Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of swinging and dragging the shifting this way here, actually you have to kick the ground and then throw, and then kick so that you can stand on the leader side here.
Excellent. Okay.
So here toward the end of the backswing swing, you see your pelvis is moving toward the target quite a bit here.
Yeah, it's quite level too. Look at that.
And then what happens is, as you're pulling this down, your body is going up here. So because you're using the arms quite a bit here, as you pull, your body is actually going up here. Instead, drop this here,
Okay.
and then using the leg again, and then throw.
I'll just throw it.
Yeah, throw, then you'll be able to support your body well with the lead leg, and then swing and then stand on the lead leg. But if you pull this and then body goes up here, again, this is going down, the body is going slightly up, but these are canceled out.
Shoulder goes up. This is stuck behind. Going all the way.
Yeah, typically it's because you're pulling this down, with that your body goes this way, then this stays behind here.
Okay.
Then the glove head goes outward,
Yes.
because it's behind here. So, again, from here up to this point, you're sliding here, and then try to bring this up while this is coming down here. And then the pelvis motion here, the pelvis motion. So this is elite man's average. So you go you turn a bit more. This is okay. This is reasonable. And then at the impact, your pelvis. This is a red line here.
Okay.
This is a rotational motion here. This is motion of the pelvis here. So now pelvis is rotated toward the target here. These are reasonably balanced.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about your pelvis motion. Okay. And then this blue line shows a lateral tilt of the pelvis here. So during the backswing, right side is higher and the left side is dropped here. So you have this inclination or slant, whatever that is. So with that, this angle increases. Go all the way here. And then, now the opposite motion is happening here. And then at impact, now left side is higher than the right side. So you're going into positive side here. But this pad is also reasonable. The green is this motion here, the forward backward tilt of the pelvis.
Okay.
And this is also reasonable, so I wouldn't worry about this. The upper graph shows the translational motion. So the red line shows a forward backward motion. And then the blue is a up and down motion. The green is away and toward motion. But currently you have a lot of toward motion here. You're sliding the pelvis toward target quite a bit because you're going here. I don't know whether this is to make a space here. Usually when the hands are coming down this way, the elbow will be stuck here. It will glide. So you have to make a space here by sliding the body this way and then try to make a space here.
That causes this. Yeah. Wow.
So you have a lot of shift motion toward the target. And then with this is also difficult to push the ground good here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in order to maintain good pelvis position and then be able to push the ground hard, then you should not shift the pelvis quite a bit here. But then the elbow will stuck here. So in order to avoid this, then you have to bring the elbow in front of your body instead of coming laterally here in front of your body.
Okay.
Then keep this parallel to the swing plane here, and then just come in front of your body and then let it go.
Okay.
Versus if the club is here, aligned this way, it's hard to bring here. You have to do this motion here, right?
Correct.
And then usually because downswing is a short period of time, and then you cannot really wait until the club swings around this way. So what you do is pull the hand down and then try to drag it here. That's what happens. But when you change the club alignment at the top, then this will change a lot of things.
Excellent. Good.
So sometimes the symptoms, show up in the downswing, but the main cause is in the backswing. Yeah. So in order to have a more structural, adjustment, then it's got to be the backswing. You have to pay attention to the backswing.
Okay.
Some people say, you don't hit the ball with the backswing, but actually, backswing affects the downswing quite a bit. Yeah. And then this is the X factor here. X factor means the separation between the shoulder line and the hip line here.
Okay.
So when the two lines are parallel here, kind of parallel, then you have a 0 X factor.
Yep.
And then when the shoulder rotates more, then the X factor starts increasing. So these two lines show it like this crossing here, almost an X shape here. So it's called the X factor. The angle between the two lines is called X factor. It is increasing. As you can see, you have two-stage motion here. Up to this point, the X factor increases more rapidly here.
Yeah.
Then the slope changes and then going a bit flatter after that here. So that means you have a quick rotation up to this point here. Then the separation is slowing down. Then you try to just move the arms and club this way here.
Okay.
So when this happens, usually it's because of an early quick body rotation. And then the lower one here, these are the angular velocities of the pelvis, and this is the thorax here.
Okay.
And as you can see, for the pelvis, the angular velocity increases in the backward direction. So the peak occurs here. This is really early.
Really early.
So you have
takeaway, right?
initial quick pelvis motion. After that, the pelvis slows down, but because you have too much time here, you are accelerating again here. So basically, we have two-stage motion here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's because it's too quick initially. You're not connecting this all the way to sort of building climax toward the end here. Instead of, oop.
Got it.
So then you cannot connect the backswing to downswing that way. And your shoulders here, your shoulders reach peak angular velocity here. This is also a bit early.
Early, yeah.
So these peaks has to happen toward the middle of the backswing here.
Okay.
Then when these are delayed, then your club peak angular speed will also occur later.
Interesting.
Yeah, remember in the beginning I said that your club speed pattern is almost symmetrical here.
Yeah.
But if you delay these peaks, then the club head reaches peak angular velocity later in the second half.
Okay.
So you have a quick early motion here. So when this happens, here you have too much time here. So usually you have a hesitation here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, imagine the first generation computer game was breaking bricks.
Yeah.
So you have bricks here, and then the ball is moving, and they're hitting the brick, and they're coming back. You're moving the pedal, okay, left to right, and they hit the ball. When the speed is reasonable, then it's easy. You just move it, and they hit. It's easy to control. But when the ball is really slow, then you have a problem here because you have many options. Either you predict the ball position, so already go there and then wait until it comes. This is one possibility. Or you just stay there and then see the ball returning, and then at the last minute you move it and then hit. So either you take a lot of time at the beginning and then move at the end, or move early and then take a lot of time here. But when the motion is reasonably fast, then you have a good acceleration, deceleration pattern. So hit.
Yes.
Then you don't have much room for a different strategy.
Yeah. Interesting.
So when you have an early quick action, then you have too much time here. Then the body will have to go slowly
Okay.
to kill that time,
Yeah.
and then wait until the club comes here, right? So the best is have a good acceleration pattern and then deceleration pattern here.
Then deceleration.
But then in the end, you have to change the direction. So the better strategy is initially you may go a bit slowly, but build the angular velocity, and then toward the end you have a continuous transition from backswing to downswing here. So with that, you have to feel a little bit of ballistic motion toward the end.
Okay.
Build the climax here and then going into downswing. If you don't have this, then you tend to use the arms and pull it. But you are strong actually. With that, you are hitting, pretty good. So you have this action, but that means that you're more relying on your arms.
I'd rather rely.
Now you're 55, right?
Yes.
So now it's okay. But when you get into a 60s and 70s, when you rely on your arms, you will see sudden decrease in the speed.
Okay.
And then you start pulling your hairs. I don't understand why, but it's because you're arm-driven swing. And then when you get old, you cannot maintain that kind of swing here. Then suddenly the speed drops.
Okay.
So you have to build a more body-driven swing.
Good.
Okay? So build the climax toward the end. So overall, this swing must be more rhythmic motion, so that you have nice acceleration, deceleration.
Okay. Good.
And then, so if we go to the kinematic sequence here, kinematic sequence has 3 sequences involved: the backswing sequence, the transition sequence, and the downswing sequence.
Okay.
In the backswing here, the sequence is based on the timings of the peak angular velocities, so peak rotational velocities.
Okay.
So your pelvis reaches peak velocity here, early on.
Yep.
And then this is the thorax. And then the shoulders are here. So up to shoulders, these are happening quite early.
Wow.
And even your arms reach peak angular velocity here. This is also early, and your club here. But rather, try to develop the peak angular velocities of the pelvis, thorax, and the shoulders more in the middle of the backswing here. Then the arms will be delayed here. Then the club angular velocity will be also delayed here.
Interesting. And do you get that feeling by not being so rotational, but being more?
Yeah, with that action, and then also you have to have a good action toward the end of the backswing. Here, building the climax instead of whoop, then.
Yes. Okay.
So this is a common pattern, but in your case, the pelvis action is too early, even considering some of the people who have early activation of the pelvis.
Okay.
So in the backswing sequence, we need to see most of the body parts reaching peak angular velocity more in the middle of the backswing, and then the arms delayed after that, and then club after that.
Okay.
Then you'll have a really good backswing pattern. Then it also gives you good transition sequence here.
Yeah.
So in the transition here, this is the transition sequence. We can see that the pelvis, thorax, and shoulders are fairly clustered here.
Yeah.
And then the arms and the club here. So this is because toward the end, you lose this momentum. So it's a slow here. Then when you try to pull this down, the body transitions almost at the same time. But when you have good momentum toward the end of the backswing, then while the pelvis slows down, change the direction, your shoulders are still going this way. With that, naturally, you have good separation. Yeah, at the top.
It create more. Of that
Yeah.
effect.
So with that, you have more well-spaced sequential transition.
Okay.
But this is because this transition, clustered transition, is because you have early motion of the body, and then you're just slowing down this, so you are losing this momentum. That's why you have to start all over again by pulling this down.
Interesting.
And then in the downswing here, the downswing sequence is again coming from the timings of the peak angular velocities.
Okay.
And then your pelvis angular velocity is slightly delayed here. The peak occurs about here, and then the thorax here, the arms here. These are slightly delayed. It has to happen a bit earlier, about here.
And is that because the pelvis is moving too far horizontally?
And also you're just pulling this down here. So in other words, you cannot really move the body early.
Yes.
So this is also related to your transition sequence. So again, the key is the transition sequence, but in order to have a good transition sequence, then you have to have a good backswing sequence.
Exactly.
When you have a good transition sequence, then you will have early onset of peak angular velocity in the downswing. So at the beginning of the downswing, you can accelerate your body, and then later you let the club go. Then body slows down, but the club accelerates.
It's going, yeah.
So in terms of sequence, what I see is that you have clustered transition here. That's because of slow motion toward the end of the backswing.
Okay.
Your body pretty much stops, and only the arms are going here. And then, so this shows how you are interacting with the ground. Okay. So here we see these arrows. So these arrows are the forces coming from the ground.
Okay.
And then the middle one is the sum of these two here. So the total force acting. And then, so at the beginning, you have almost the equal amount of force here, about here. And then when the club starts moving, you actually have more force acting on the trail side. But when the club starts moving, you still have to have more force acting on the leader side.
Oh, really?
So using the leader side and start this shift motion,
Okay.
and
So I need a
then
better trigger
push the ground.
I need a better trigger.
So when you have good trigger motion, then at the beginning of the backswing, you will see more force acting on the leader side here. So good leader side push here, then it gives you good trail side push here. Now, this is the peak force acting on the trail side. The blue line is the force acting on the trail side.
Okay.
It reaches peak value here. This is too early.
Way too early. Yeah.
This has to happen after this position here, about here. So when the club reaches horizontal, parallel position, then usually this red line should be at its peak. Red line is the sum of these two, so it's the total force. The green is the force acting on the leader side. Blue is the force acting on the trail side. So about here, the total force reaches peak. And then after that, you have a peak push from the trail side here, about here. But your peaks are happening early here. So that means it's too quick.
Yeah.
The too quick motion. So at the beginning of the backswing, you have quick action, but then slow motion here.
Yeah.
So these peaks are happening too early. And also, so around here, the red line should go a bit higher here. So this is one body weight. So in the vertical direction, the total force will be initially equal to the body weight. But when you have a more active push, then it goes above. When you don't push hard, then it goes below.
Goes below.
Yeah. So this is the active push, and then when the force goes below the body weight, this phase is called the unweighting phase.
Okay.
Unweighting. So you're not, when you just stand on the ground, then the ground reaction force and the body weight are equal to each other.
Okay.
When you push the ground more actively, then the force goes above the body weight. When you don't push hard, you let the body drop, then it's called the unweighting. Okay? And so essentially, in the vertical direction, we are interacting with the ground by pushing actively and then reduce the force here.
Okay.
So by repeating active push and unweighting, that way you are interacting with the ground. So in order to have a good push here in the downswing here,
Yeah.
in order to have a good push using the lead leg here, then you have to have a good unweighting before that.
Interesting.
So this is top of action here. About here, you must have good unweighting. And then, in order to have good unweighting here, So this continuous unrating all the way to this point, then you must have a good push about here.
Which I'm missing.
Yeah, you have early action, and then this is kind of, it's going into a unrating phase, but it's not that exciting here.
Yeah.
So you have not much unrating. So then you cannot push this hard here.
Interesting.
So in order to have good vertical interaction, you keep a good push and then unrate and then push again. So this side is a trail side push using this leg, trail side push, and then in the downswing you have a good leader side push. So between the trail side push and the leader side push, you automatically have a good unrating here. So in terms of rhythm here,
Yeah.
during the backswing using the right leg and then have a good push and then drop your body and then good push on this side. So for you, what you need to pay attention is just the pushes.
Push it. Okay.
Push from this side and the push from this side.
Okay.
So this is rhythmic motion,
Yeah.
as if you are taking steps here.
Okay.
So push in the trail side and then push in the leader side. Then between these pushes, as the legs switch, you automatically have good unrating.
Excellent.
Do you enjoy downhill skiing?
Yeah.
Yeah, in New York, you should have a good ski results. But so in skiing, alpine skiing, when you try to make a turn here, what happens is before that you have good push.
Yes, you do.
After that, you have unrating. Unrating means between the ski and then the snow, we don't have that much force acting. With that, you can quickly move the ski here.
Correct.
And then load onto this and then have a good push and then go here. That's how you have this turn motion. Yeah. So in downhill skiing, you're always actually using the active push and the unrating. Have that kind of feel here. So you have a good push on this side and then good push on this side. Between the pushes, you automatically have good unrating.
Okay. That's helpful.
It's not both the legs going like this, but
That's right.
one leg push and then the other leg push here.
Okay.
But so when you have loading onto this side, when you have good push, then you unload this side and then prepare for the next push. And then drop the body and then push here. Then this will be unloaded.
Okay.
So you are taking turns here.
Excellent.
So that's the rhythmic motion.
I love it.
So ultimately, when you have a stepping like action during the swing, then you develop good push. Between the pushes, you have good unrating.
Okay.
So no need to worry about the unrating. Sometimes people intentionally try to unrate and then they try to squat. Squat and the unrating is different. Unrating always comes from good push, and then you don't push hard, then automatically your body drops. So you are dropping your body instead of you intentionally try to go down here. When you try to squat down, you lose timing.
Yes.
It's just a push on this side and then just a push here. Then between pushes, you have automatically good unrating.
Okay.
Now, so you don't have a good push here. This push has to go a lot higher.
A lot higher.
And but for this push, you should have a good unrating before that, particularly around the top of action here. Now, if you look at the ground reaction force arrow here, so about here, this is passing through the center of mass here. Now, the bottom graph, this is called the moment arm or the lever arm.
Okay.
Imagine you're using a wrench to try to rotate something, right? Then this distance is a moment arm or lever arm. So we have the same thing. If we see this force as the force you're exerting to the wrench, and then the center of mass is the center of rotation, then the separation, so on this side here, you will see separation between the center of mass and this arrow here. So center of mass is here. The arrow is passing like this. This gap is the moment arm. So as if this force is rotating a wrench. Okay? So you are actually using the ground to generate torque for this rotation motion in the frontal plane. And then so here you have the longest momentum about here, but the momentums are not that long in the backswing because the force is passing close to the center of mass.
Yeah.
And then when the force goes through the center of mass, then you have no momentum here. So it's zero momentum. And after that, this force will go this side here, go to this side. Then here, you should have a really good inclination of the force arrow. And then keep this point is called the center of pressure, but keep the center of pressure still near the trail side and then create the good inclination of the force here. But instead, your center pressure is already in the middle. That means you have equal amount of forces acting. As you can see here, these are crossing here.
Yeah, they are.
At this point, we have equal amount of force acting on the body. And then, at top of backswing, actually you have a slightly more force acting on the leader side. This is called the stack and tilt.
Okay.
So you tend to shift the body early toward the target. Then at the top of backswing, you have more force acting on the leader side. But actually, at the top of backswing, you should have more force acting on the trail side.
Interesting.
But because you are shifting the body
Yeah.
too early, so early action and then you are shifting the body toward the target. So with that, when you reach the top of action, you already have more force acting on the leader side. So this is typical stack and tilt pattern. I don't know whether you intentionally use stack and tilt or not, but
Yeah.
so essentially this creates the effect similar to a stack and tilt. You have early shift the body toward the target.
Okay.
So that's why it happens here. But still at this point, the force should act here, and then it should give good inclination, then you have long momentum here.
Okay.
So usually around the top of action, you should have the longest momentum. This has to go way up here. This is man's average maximum, and it has to go way up here
Way up there, yes.
by inclining the force arrow. For the inclination of force arrow, the vertical force should be small, and you should have a large horizontal force. Then it will incline quite a bit. So in other words, you have to have a good unweighting here. When you have good unweighting, then vertical force decreases.
Yeah.
And also when you push the ground in the horizontal direction, you have a good horizontal component, then you have good inclination of force arrow. However, because you have more force acting on the leader side, it is already shifted this way.
Already, yeah.
It's almost upright here. And then, now the force is increasing, but you're maintaining the momentum about here. And then, so this gives the best combination of momentum and then the force here. Now, the top graph is the torque.
Okay.
Torque is force times the momentum. So, you can increase the force to increase the torque, or you can increase the momentum to increase the torque.
Yes.
But usually, increasing the torque by elongating the momentum is easier because without pushing hard, without putting a lot of effort, if you can elongate the momentum, then you can easily increase the torque.
Absolutely.
So at this stage here, near the top of action, you should generate good amount of torque by using the long momentum here, because the force will be still in the unweighting phase.
Okay.
So by using the momentum, you can still generate good amount of torque here. And then at some point, you can have the best combination of momentum and the force to generate good amount of torque. But this peak is coming from your maximum force here.
Yeah.
This is late. This is late. So when you have to generate the maximum torque by using maximum force, then this is too late.
Okay.
Yeah. So before that, from the top of action to in the middle of the downswing here, you should be able to generate good amount of torque, particularly by utilizing long momentum. But because you are using this stack and tilt type swing,
Yeah.
so you are shifting the body toward target too much.
Too much.
Yeah. So with that, you have more force acting on the lead side at the top of action. So
Okay.
you still should be able to stand on the trail side here. At the top, still this is unloaded fairly.
Okay.
And you're pretty much standing on the right side here. And then you will be able to move this way and then kick here.
Okay.
You can push hard. But if you already load on this side here, what happens is, if I give you this analogy, when you walk, when we use both sides equally, then we just walk nicely here. We can run faster, right? But if you have a stack and tilt type motion here, then you are putting more effort on this side, so you are walking like this.
Okay.
And then in walking, it may not be that important whether you walk this way or this way. But imagine you run. Run this versus try to run this way.
Yep.
So when you have to push the ground really good in the downswing, then if you load onto this side too early, you cannot really unload and push. So from this side, when you have good push, then you unload this side, and then you can push hard here. But already you are here, then you are running like this. So essentially, this is coming from good stepping-like action.
Yeah.
In the backswing, you have to load onto trail side good, and in the backswing, in the downswing, good lead side push.
Okay.
So basically, the reason why all this is happening is you have the intention to shift early. That's why you have a quick early action, and you are shifting the body toward the target.
Yeah.
So you have early loading onto the lead side. That's why it's hard to use the ground that well here.
Okay.
So this unweighting, at the top of action, you should have a lot more unweighting, continuous unweighting here.
Okay.
By pushing good about here, and the good unweighting, and then when you push it, then automatically this goes really high here. And you don't have to intentionally push really hard, because the maximum force is actually coming from slowing down of the downward motion. When your body drops, if you don't do much, then your body will collapse, right?
Yeah.
To slow this down, you will start pushing the ground with the lead leg. So essentially, you are reaching the peak force by slowing down the downward motion. So if you introduce the downward motion early, then automatically you have good push.
Yeah.
It's not from intentional push, but to slow the downward motion.
Okay.
So, but now at this point, let me give you some very different pattern. Okay, so I'll give you another golfer here, who shows a very different pattern here, so that you can get inspired.
Yeah.
This is Grant Waite.
Grant Waite. Okay.
So if we generally look at his pattern, you see the peak occurs here, and then he has a quick deceleration and then going into downswing here. So really active deceleration, and then into the downswing. And then top view here, this is swing plane, this is the hand motion plane. They are almost parallel to each other.
Beautiful.
So when you align, oh, this is a different one. I came up with something. Let's go to the pelvis. This is X factor here. So X factor is pretty much continuously increasing to the top of action here. Instead of having a noticeable change in the slope, right?
Yeah.
So all the way here.
Beautiful.
And then he's reaching peak angular velocities here for the pelvis and the shoulders here. So it's pretty much in the middle of the backswing here. So now if we go to the kinematic sequence, then the peak of the pelvis, shoulder, the thorax and the shoulder here, pretty much in the middle of the backswing. Then the arms and the club here. So these peaks are delayed, and also in the transition phase, these well-spaced sequential transitions. So trunk, the pelvis first, then thorax, shoulders, arms, and then club here. And then the peak angular velocity in the downswing occur a bit early here for the pelvis and then thorax here. The shoulder reaches a bit later, but this is not a problem here. And then the arms a bit later. But more importantly, the pelvis and thorax, they are reaching peak angle a bit earlier. So he has a lot more time from here to impact. So that during this period, the body slows down, but you accelerate the club. So that's why the wrist, this pink line is the wrist angular velocity. Wrist angular velocity reaches this level here. Then this brings the club angular velocity higher. So for you, if you want to have a faster speed, then you have to increase the wrist angular velocity.
Okay.
And then the way he interacts with the ground. So see, he has a peak maximum push here during the backswing.
Yeah, he does.
And then after that, he has a maximum push from the trail side here. And then once the unweighting starts, this unweighting continues all the way to top of action here. So as a result, look at this force here. So the center pressure stays close to the trail foot. It inclines quite a bit.
Yeah.
Good unweighting here. And then good amount of horizontal force here. He has a long momentum here. With that, at the beginning of the downswing, he already generates, the torque similar to elite man's average maximum at the beginning of the downswing.
Wow.
And then even it goes above that level. So all the way to here, pretty much he's maintaining good amount of torque here. And then now the peak force occurs here. It goes way above this average line here. It's coming from this good unweighting.
Okay.
This good unweighting is coming from good push here.
You could push there.
Yeah. After this push, you have to allow your body drop. Then you'll be able to push good here. So this is a trail side push and the leader side push here. So the force pattern is quite simple here in his case.
Yeah.
Good push from here, and then good push from this side here. And then you will see that through the impact, his upper body is behind the foot here, leader foot here, leaning slightly backward because he can push the ground down and toward target. Yes. So then the reaction force will be, in the away direction and the upward, right? So with that, you can limit the shift motion. So essentially, what should happen is, because the stance is wider than the hips usually, so we can push the ground down and outward. Then the force act on the body will be inward and upward. Using that, you can confine your body within this space here. Okay. So imagine a triangular space here. Yeah. Then your body can stay inside here. Okay. You don't have to slide quite a bit outside the space. So if we go back to your kinematic sequence, let's take a look at the wrist motion here. So the wrist here, your wrist angular velocity is not reaching the man's average. And then, so the angular velocity of the club is below the man's average here. And when you just try to drag it, when you pull, you cannot really let it go.
It's not doing anything. That's right. Yeah.
So this motion is really important. So let it go, then the club will accelerate faster here. Okay. So at the last minute, this increases quite a bit here, and then this goes above. But when you just try to pull this down and then swing through, pull it in. You don't really let the club head go.
Okay.
So that's why we see this pattern here.
Yep. Swinging the handle, not the head. Handle's moving, not the club head.
And it seems your club is also fairly heavy.
The driver is, yeah. Yeah. It was built at D7. That what, 2-3 years ago?
It's a bit too heavy.
Yeah.
And in order to be able to release it, and then you need to use a bit lower swing weight.
Okay.
Yeah. When the center of mass is either away from the handle, the swing weight increases. Okay. Or the center of mass is closer, but if the club is heavy, then also swing weight goes up.
Okay.
But when the swing weight is a bit too high, then it's hard to control this. Then you tend to drag it.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's why I don't, recommend devices with a really heavy head. Heavier than the club, but the center of mass is too, away from the handle.
Okay.
Then it dictates your swing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you would automatically develop a dragging pattern instead of letting it go.
What's a range of swing weight you would prefer that I use? This is D7 now, the driver.
Go for a D3, D4,
Okay.
or start from a bit lighter one. So the weight on the head,
Yep.
you can buy different weights from Amazon. Then start with a bit lighter one. Then make sure you should be able. You make sure to throw the head,
Yep.
and then if you can release it, then start using slightly heavier one and try to maintain that pattern.
Okay.
But if it's too heavy, you feel like it's heavy, then automatically the body changes the pattern and then try to drag it.
Okay. I appreciate that.
And then partially, this is caused partially because of the club feeders.
Yeah. And I've got hot melt inside there. We've got chunks of weight inside the hosel. We built it up.
Yeah, they recommend the heavier ones.
Yeah.
When you use a heavier object, then you feel you're using your muscles. So you can feel that you are a man, right? Using your muscles. But actually it dictates your swing pattern.
I want to feel more of a whip.
So for example, Ben Crane was using a lot lighter club than yours.
Really?
And the one funny story is that one week we had the Ben Crane. The next week we had this 15-year-old junior girl. That girl was using club heavier than Ben Crane's.
Wow.
So that's the situation.
Okay.
So this is a mess. And also I had the presentation last December. I had a presentation in Bangkok. The topic was a junior swing, okay, biomechanics junior swing. And I looked at the club numbers. And normally what we expect is as you get taller or heavier, then you increase the club numbers, right?
Yeah.
But it was a negative correlation.
Really?
So I had a bunch of junior players, and then actually ran the correlation. So the height versus swing weight, and then mass versus swing weight, and they showed this negative correlation. So as the body gets taller and then heavier, actually they are using swing weight, the lower swing weight. So something is wrong, right?
Yeah. The timing's good because I'm going to be getting a new driver next month.
So club fitting is a mess.
Yeah.
No need to use heavy clubs. You should be able to really release it.
Yeah.
And then, if you can release it well, then you can increase the weight,
Increase the weight then.
to the level you can handle,
Okay.
without any problem, without changing the pattern. But when you used to a heavy club, then generally your swing pattern changes to a dragging pattern.
Yeah.
That's why you pull and then the body goes up like that.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so this is something you need to consider. At some point, I think if we accumulate enough data, then we'll probably be able to, present this in a paper or a conference presentation. But Yeah.
Excellent.
So something is not right in terms
Yeah.
of color fitting in these days.
Totally, you're right.
All right. Any questions?
It sounds to me like we really have got to work on and come up with some drilling to work on that backspring.
Work on the rhythm.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Basically, you have to develop rhythm.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as just walking like stepping like rhythm.